Only in Monaco can a single moment slow an entire street. No flashing cameras, no raised voices, no need for attention. A car stops, a door opens, and suddenly every movement around it feels more deliberate. Here, some women don't arrive. They appear with a presence that feels quietly royal. Monaco is not a city that rewards noise or excess. It values precision, restraint, and unspoken authority. That is why these women stand out without trying. They don't step out to be seen. They step out as if the space was already waiting for them. Every gesture is calm. Every pause feels intentional. And the people nearby don't rush forward. They simply notice and then make room. In this episode of Inside the Billionaires, we're exploring why only in Monaco do these subtle moments carry so much weight. Why true elegance here isn't about luxury logos, powerful engines, or public status, but about confidence so complete it never needs to announce itself. If you're drawn to the world of quiet power, refined wealth, and lifestyles few ever witness, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Inside the Billionaires for more stories from behind closed doors. And stay until the end, because what truly sets these women apart isn't how they arrive. It's what happens when the city goes silent as they leave. In most cities, arriving is just a moment. A car pulls over, a door opens, life moves on. But in Monaco, arrival is a language, and only a few people know how to speak it fluently. From the very first second, you can tell who understands this place and who is simply passing through. It's not about wealth alone. Monaco has never been impressed by money. It listens for something else. Here, arrival is measured in timing, posture, and restraint. The car stops exactly where it should, not too close, not too visible. The door opens without urgency. There is no scanning of the crowd, no hesitation. Everything feels practiced, yet never rehearsed. This is the unspoken rule of Monaco. If you truly belong, you never look like you're trying to fit in. These women understand that rule perfectly. They don't arrive to make an impression, they arrive as if the impression has already been made long before. Locals notice it instantly. Valets move a fraction quicker. Conversations pause for half a second. Even the air feels different, as though the space itself adjusts around them. Nothing dramatic happens, yet everyone senses that something important just did. What makes this unique is that Monaco doesn't reward excess. Loud confidence fades quickly here. Real presence is subtle, almost invisible, but impossible to ignore. The women who master arrival know that the city itself becomes their stage, not because they demand attention, but because Monaco offers it naturally to those who move correctly within it. And that's the difference most visitors never understand. They bring expensive cars, bold fashion, and public confidence, yet they still feel out of place. Meanwhile, these women arrive with fewer signals, fewer words, and somehow leave a stronger impression. Monaco recognizes its own. As the night continues, you begin to realize something even more intriguing. Arrival is only the first test. Because in this city, the way someone enters matters, but the way they carry themselves afterward reveals far more. And that's where the story quietly becomes even more interesting. In most luxury capitals, the car arrives first, and the person comes second. Heads turn for horsepower, rare badges, and aggressive sound. But Monaco works in reverse. Here, the car fades into the background the moment the door opens. What people notice isn't the vehicle, it's who steps out of it. This is where many outsiders misunderstand Monaco. They assume status is announced by speed, noise, or excess. But in this city, true presence moves quietly. The most powerful women don't compete with their cars. They let the car serve its purpose and then disappear from the conversation entirely. Once they stand on the pavement, the vehicle has already done its job. You can feel the shift immediately. The focus isn't on chrome details or engine notes anymore. It's on posture, pace, awareness. These women don't rush. They don't pause for approval. They step forward with calm certainty, as if the environment has already been measured and accepted. In Monaco, that confidence reads louder than any exhaust note. What's fascinating is how naturally the city responds. Valets don't stare. Staff don't hover. Locals don't react theatrically. There's a mutual understanding, a silent acknowledgement that this person knows the rules of the place. The car may be rare, but rarity alone doesn't impress Monaco. Presence does. This is why these arrivals feel almost cinematic without trying to be. Nothing is exaggerated, nothing is staged, yet everything feels intentional. The woman becomes the anchor of the scene, while the supercar becomes a footnote. Impressive, yes, but no longer the headline. And as the evening unfolds, a deeper pattern begins to emerge. You start to notice that the ones who command the most attention are often the ones doing the least to earn it. Their confidence doesn't peak at arrival, it continues in how they move, where they go, and how little they need to adjust themselves to the world around them. Because in Monaco, arrival is only the introduction. What truly separates these women is what happens after the car is forgotten. And that's where the quiet hierarchy of the city reveals itself even more clearly. In Monaco, arriving at the right time matters just as much as arriving the right way. This city runs on an invisible rhythm, one that can't be learned overnight and can't be bought at any price. Those who understand it move effortlessly within Monaco's flow. Those who don't always feel slightly out of sync, no matter how luxurious their surroundings may be. The most powerful women never appear too early. They don't arrive when energy is still forming, when rooms are unfinished and attention is scattered. But they also never arrive late, when curiosity has already peaked and faded. Their timing feels exact, as if they instinctively know when the city itself is ready to notice. This precision creates a subtle effect. When they step out, nothing dramatic happens. There's no announcement, no pause in music, no obvious reaction. And yet, conversations soften, movements slow. The atmosphere tightens just enough for people to become aware of their surroundings again. In Monaco, this moment signals something important. Someone who understands the tempo has entered the scene. What makes this especially rare is that Monaco's rhythm constantly shifts. It changes with seasons, events, and even the mood of the night. Only those deeply familiar with this environment can sense when to arrive without disrupting it. These women don't force the moment, they align with it. Outsiders often misread this. They arrive too fast, too loud, too eager to be seen. Their presence creates friction instead of harmony. But the women who truly belong move like a quiet current beneath the surface. They don't chase attention. They allow attention to find them naturally at precisely the right second. As the night progresses, you start to realize that timing here isn't about clocks or schedules. It's about awareness of space, people, and momentum. The women who master this don't just arrive at the perfect moment, they seem to define it. And once you notice this pattern, something becomes clear. The arrival itself is only a signal. Because the real influence begins afterward, when timing turns into positioning, and that's when Monaco's quiet power structure becomes impossible to ignore. In most places, attention is loud. People stare, phones come out, reactions are obvious. But Monaco operates on a different frequency. Here, recognition is silent, and that silence is intentional. When the most powerful women arrive, no one rushes forward, no one points, no one interrupts the moment. Instead, something far more telling happens. You'll notice it in the smallest details. A valet adjusts his position without being asked. A conversation nearby lowers in volume for just a second. A passerby glances once, not twice, and then continues walking. These reactions aren't accidental. They're signs of awareness, of understanding who belongs and who doesn't need validation. This is one of the clearest distinctions in Monaco's social code. Those who seek attention are met with curiosity. Those who command it are met with restraint. The women who truly carry weight here are recognized without ceremony because ceremony would be unnecessary. Their presence doesn't interrupt the environment. It fits into it perfectly. What makes this even more powerful is the absence of performance. There's no expectation to entertain onlookers or respond to admiration. These women don't slow their steps. They don't acknowledge the room. They move forward with quiet certainty, knowing that recognition doesn't require participation. In Monaco, being noticed is passive. Being respected is earned. This silent acknowledgement creates a feeling that's hard to describe unless you've seen it yourself. It's not admiration, and it's not distance. It's mutual understanding. The city recognizes those who understand its rhythm, its limits, and its values. And in return, it offers them space, something far more valuable than attention. As the night unfolds, this pattern becomes clearer. You begin to see who blends into the background and who subtly reshapes it just by being present. No gestures, no words, just alignment. And once you recognize this silent language, another question naturally follows. If recognition in Monaco is this restrained, what happens behind the doors that close after these women pass through? Because that's where influence stops being visible and starts becoming real. In many luxury cities, power is expressed through excess, bold gestures, dramatic entrances, constant signals meant to be seen. Monaco rejects that approach entirely. Here, the women who hold the most influence display it through restraint. The less they show, the more weight each movement carries. You see it in how they walk. Their pace is unhurried, never reactive. They don't adjust themselves to the environment because the environment already adapts to them. Shoulders relaxed, posture natural. Nothing forced, nothing exaggerated. Every step suggests control, not over others, but over themselves. In Monaco, that kind of control is instantly recognized. Their style follows the same principle. No obvious statements, no need to prove relevance. Colors are chosen with intention, lines are clean. Everything fits, not just physically, but socially. This is not fashion meant to attract attention. It's design meant to remove distraction. The result is presence without noise. What's most striking is how this restraint influences the space around them. People instinctively give room. Movements nearby slow slightly. Conversations don't stop, but they soften. It's as if the atmosphere recalibrates itself in response. Nothing is demanded, everything is offered. This is the quiet lesson Monaco teaches. Real authority doesn't need reinforcement. The women who embody this understand that reacting is a form of weakness here. They don't look around to see who's watching. They don't measure themselves against others. Their confidence is internal, steady, and complete. Outsiders often misinterpret this as distance or coldness. But it's neither. It's precision. It's knowing exactly how much presence is needed and refusing to add more. Monaco rewards this discipline because it aligns perfectly with the city's own character. As you continue observing, a realization begins to settle in. These women aren't simply moving through Monaco, they're setting a standard without saying a word. And once you notice that standard, you start to see something else forming beneath the surface. A hierarchy not based on visibility, but on composure. Because in this city, restraint isn't the absence of power. It's the clearest sign that power is already there. In most places, status is introduced. Names are mentioned, backgrounds are hinted at, people are explained before they are accepted. But Monaco works differently. Here, the women who truly matter are never introduced, because introduction would be unnecessary. When they arrive, no one asks who they are. No one leans in for context. There's no curiosity that needs satisfying, no narrative that must be filled in. The understanding already exists. In Monaco, explanation is reserved for outsiders. Belonging doesn't require words. You notice this clearly when they move beyond the street. Doors open smoothly. Staff respond without questions. Tables are already prepared. There is no pause where permission is requested. Everything flows as if it had been decided long before the moment arrived. This is not privilege on display, it's familiarity. What's remarkable is how natural it feels. There's no tension, no sense of entitlement. These women don't expect special treatment. They simply move as though the environment knows them, because it does. In Monaco, relationships are built quietly over time, and once they're established, they never need to be repeated. Visitors often mistake this for exclusivity, but it's deeper than that. It's trust. Monaco operates on memory. The city remembers who understands its rhythm, its boundaries, its discretion. Those people are welcomed without ceremony, because ceremony would suggest uncertainty. The women who thrive here never clarify their importance. They don't correct assumptions or guide perception. They allow the silence to do the work. And in that silence, everyone around them adjusts instinctively. Not out of obligation, but out of recognition. As the evening continues, you begin to sense something subtle but powerful. The most influential figures aren't gathering attention in public spaces. They're passing through them, briefly, efficiently, on their way somewhere more private, more controlled. And that raises a question that lingers in the background. If no one needs to explain who these women are, then where exactly are they going next? And what kind of world exists beyond the places we're allowed to see? In Monaco, departure carries just as much meaning as arrival, sometimes even more. While most people focus on how they enter a space, the most powerful women understand that the way they leave defines the memory. There is no rush, no final glance, no attempt to hold attention a second longer than necessary. The exit is calm, deliberate, and complete. You notice it when the evening begins to shift. Conversations continue, music plays, lights remain unchanged. And yet, there's a subtle awareness that something has just concluded. Not because of an announcement, but because a certain presence is no longer there. Monaco responds to absence as much as it does to arrival. These women don't linger to be remembered. They don't wait for acknowledgement. Their departure feels like a closing statement made without words. A door opens, a step forward, a vehicle moves away smoothly. And just like that, the space they occupied resets, but never quite returns to the way it was before. What makes this powerful is the discipline behind it. Leaving at the right moment requires the same awareness as arriving at the right time. Stay too long and influence softens. Leave too early and momentum is lost. The women who master Monaco's rhythm know exactly when the story has been told and when it's time to exit the frame. Observers often realize too late that the most important moments weren't captured or announced. They simply happened and then they were gone. In Monaco, memory isn't built through repetition, it's built through precision. As the night deepens, the contrast becomes clearer. Some guests remain, searching for connection or recognition. Others depart quietly, carrying something more valuable with them, control over how they're remembered. And once you begin to notice this pattern, one final realization starts to form. In Monaco, those who truly belong don't need to stay visible. Because the moment they leave, the city itself seems to hold their place, waiting for the next time they decide to return. After observing enough arrivals, movements, and quiet departures, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. What makes these women feel almost royal is not what they show, it's what they withhold. In Monaco, silence is not a lack of presence. Silence is presence. This city is small, intensely aware, and socially precise. People notice patterns quickly. They remember faces, timing, behavior. Because of that, status here isn't built through explanation or exposure. It's built through consistency and discretion. When no one asks questions anymore, when no reactions are needed, that's when someone has truly arrived. These women are perfectly comfortable inside that silence. They don't offer stories, they don't define themselves publicly, they don't correct assumptions. In Monaco, the less information someone gives, the more influence they often hold. Being unknown to the crowd frequently means being well known behind closed doors. What most visitors never realize is that Monaco exists in layers. There is the visible city, streets, restaurants, arrivals that catch the eye, and then there is another world, quieter and more controlled, where access is limited and attention is unnecessary. The women who arrive like royalty are not performing for the visible layer. They move through it briefly, purposefully, on their way elsewhere. That's why their presence feels temporary but powerful. They never linger where attention gathers. They leave before curiosity turns into familiarity. In doing so, they preserve something far more valuable than visibility: mystique. And once you understand this, everything falls into place. These women don't rule Monaco by being seen everywhere. They rule by knowing exactly when to appear and when to disappear. In a city where everyone watches everything, the greatest power belongs to those who leave the least behind. In the end, Monaco reveals something most places never do. true status doesn't need to be explained, displayed, or defended. It exists quietly, confidently, and on its own terms. The women you've seen throughout this video don't arrive like royalty because they seek admiration. They arrive that way because Monaco itself recognizes them. Their power isn't loud. It doesn't chase attention or linger for approval. It moves with precision, appears only when necessary, and disappears before curiosity turns into familiarity. In a city where everything is visible and everyone is watching, the greatest advantage is knowing when not to be seen. That is the real luxury of Monaco. Not the cars, not the lights, not even the wealth. It's the ability to move through the world without explanation, to be understood without introduction. And that's why these women leave such a lasting impression even after they're gone. If this glimpse into Monaco's quiet hierarchy gave you a new perspective on luxury, elegance, and influence, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Inside the Billionaires. Here, we explore the stories, lifestyles, and unspoken rules that exist far beyond the surface. Thank you for watching. And remember, in Monaco, the most powerful presence is often the one that says the least.